Oh my god, those are two big antlers. What were you thinking, huh? I was talking about the ant. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna talk about LAUMA, which is right in front of us, the new 5-star character from Notcry. I'll be explaining how she works, talents, artifacts, weapons, constellations, playstyle, and teamcomps, so you can build a very strong Mother Nature without a nature. This video was a headache to make since LAUMA has a pretty long kit with many terms and effects, but I did my best to ensure you an understandable Razor language explanation about her kit using my little schemes too. So stick around and watch till the end, you will not regret it. Also, if you want to see more of these guides, leave a like and subscribe and tell me in the comments what do you think about my guides. Of course, before we start, big shout out to InWrap for helping me researching the information for this video as well. And now, enough chit chat, let's start our LAUMA guide. As Mother Nature, LAUMA deals pure elemental damage, and her element is Dendro, so please go touch some grass. Here's all the materials that you need to level her up to level 90, as well as for the talents. Since she works with elemental reactions, she ascends Elemental Mastery for a total of 115 at level 90, and she is a support as well as a off-field Lunar Bloom activator. Normally I wouldn't be talking about normal attacks, but with LAUMA it's different, because if you use her charge attack, you transform in a deer. Now, imagine you're driving in a car right after a beer and you see a deer. This form can last up to 10 seconds and you'll move very fast, and you also have the ability to double jump. This form has a cooldown of 4 seconds after leaving the state. While being in this state, you have increased interruption resistance, and while you're in the cooldown, her charge attack deals damage. While LAUMA uses her skill, she activates her domain expansion, Deer Shadow Garden. This summon is called Frostgrove Sanctuary, which deals 1 instance of damage every 2 seconds, and this damage is considered as skill damage. This AoE follows your active character and lasts for 15 seconds, and this is if you tap. If you hold the skill, well, nothing happens, except if you have at least 1 stack of Verdant Dew. And you can see how many stacks you have below the last character in the party on your right. Verdant Dew is a stack that you get after 2.5 seconds after triggering Lunar Bloom. But if you trigger Lunar Bloom again while already charging up 1 stack, the duration of the charge resets to 2.5 seconds. So if you use whole skill and you are consuming Verdant Dew stacks, this stack get converted to Moon Song. With a ratio of 1:1. So, if you have 3 Verdant Dew stacks, which is the maximum amount that you can get on Verdant Dew, you can get up to 3 Moonsong stacks. But that's not it, because if you use her burst while having Moonsong stacks, these Moonsong stacks get converted into Pale Hymn. First of all, each stack has independent duration of 15 seconds, and it increases Bloom, Hyper Bloom, and Burgeon damage, scaled on LAUMA's Elemental Mastery, and with level 10 burst, you get a damage increase of 500%. You also get a damage increase on Lunar Bloom damage, but with level 10 burst, the increase is 100% less. How do you gain Pale Hymn stacks? You can get 18 stacks by using your burst, 6 stacks per Moonsong stack that you consume, and you also get some stacks with her C6, which we'll talk about later. Some additional buffs that you get by using her skill: if opponents get hit by the skill, either skill activation or Frostgrove Sanctuary damage, LAUMA shreds the opponent's Dendro and Hydro Res for 10 seconds. When she bursts, she gains 18 Pale Hymn stacks, as well as triggering the conversion from Moonsong to Pale Hymn, which I've talked about earlier. Her passives are pretty interesting. For the first passive, after using skill with LAUMA, you get a buff based on your Moonsign level, which is a new passive mechanic that we got with 6.0. Basically, Moonsign level is based on the amount of Notcry characters that you have in your team. The first one is Moonsign Nascent Gleam, and the second one is Moonsign Ascendant Gleam. So back to the passive, if your Moonsign is level 1, aka Nascent Gleam, your Bloom, Hyper Bloom, and Burgeon can crit. Yes, Bloom can crit now. The amount of crits you get is fixed, 15% crit rate and 100% crit damage, and this effect is stackable with similar effects. While Moonsign level 2, aka Ascendant Gleam, can make your Lunar Bloom crit. This time the crit is not fixed, you get an extra 15% crit rate and 20% crit damage. As for the second passive, for each point of Elemental Mastery LAUMA has, you get plus 0.04 skill damage, up to a maximum of 32%. And that's not all about this passive, because you get a minus 0.02% Deer Form cooldown. Her third talent converts Bloom to Lunar Bloom. You also get 0.0175% Lunar Bloom base damage per elemental mastery point that LAUMA has, up to a maximum of 14%. And of course, since she's a Notcry character, you get +1 moon sign level. And last but not least, her last talent, which shows Notcry unique resources on the map. With 6.0 we got 2 new artifact sets, and one is obviously designed for LAUMA. I'm talking about Silken Moon Serenade, and of course you want to run her on a 4-piece. Other artifact set could be Flower of Paradise Lost. For the Sense, you can either run Energy Recharge or Elemental Mastery. For the substats, try to get as much Elemental Mastery as possible. Since Lunar Bloom can crit, getting some crit rate and crit damage as substat isn't bad. LAUMA is pretty easy to build, because all you have to do is to give her a lot of Elemental Mastery, and for the weapons, we can't go wrong with that. Her best in slot is of course her signature weapon, followed by Nahida's signature and Citlali's signature weapon. You could even run Mitsuki's signature weapon if you have it. The 4-star choices are very good, because with this new patch we actually got a new craftable 4-star weapon, Black Marrow Lantern. And I would even argue that this weapon could be even better than Citlali's or Nahida's. Spoiler, her constellations are quite busted, especially C2. Starting with C1, after LAUMA uses her skill or burst, she gets Threads of Life for 20 seconds, which heals your active character by 500% of LAUMA's Elemental Mastery after triggering Lunar Bloom. Plus, you get a minus 40% stamina consumption when being in the Deer state, and you also get 5 more seconds on Deer duration. Her C2 is the best constellation that you could have on LAUMA, because it enhances your burst. Do you remember the buffs that you would get with Pale Him? Well, these effects are now doubled. Her C3 increases her burst level by 3. Her C4 generates 4 energy whenever the little deer in your skill hits an opponent. Her C5 increases her skill level by 3. C6 for the whales is also about the little deers in the skill. You basically get 1 extra instance of damage scaling on 185% of LAUMA's Elemental Mastery, and this damage is considered as Lunar Bloom damage. When dealing this instance of damage, you won't consume any Pale Him stacks, but you will gain 2 of these stacks, as well as refreshing the duration of the stacks you get this way. And when you skill again, this effect refreshes, removing all previous Pale Him stacks. Plus, if LAUMA normal attacks and has Pale Him stacks, she consumes 1 stack to deal 1 single damage instance, scaling on 150% of LAUMA's Elemental Mastery, and this instance of damage is considered as Lunar Bloom. And lastly, if your moon sign level is level 2, your Lunar Bloom reaction damage deal 25% more damage. If you're free to play, I of course don't recommend getting any constellation, since C0 is already very good, but if you're insane and like deers, I'd say that C2 is her best option. Even a deer needs a team to run 2 Dendro and 2 Hydro characters, or you can decide to run Electro or Pyro 2 to make everything more fun. For Dendro characters, I recommend running Nahida, Collei, Baidru, or Yo-Yao. For Hydro, you can run Aino, Kokomi, Shincho, and Nilu. For Electro, you can run Kuki, Raiden, or Yae. And for Pyro, I only recommend Thoma, because his burst charges up very fast, you get a shield, and you also get decent Pyro application. LAUMA's teams are very flexible, so you can try to experiment a little too. My recommendation is that you definitely have to run LAUMA and Nahida together for premium performance. For the last 2 slots, you can either go for Kokomi and Nilu, Aino and Nilu, Aino and Shincho, or Aino and Thoma. And don't try to be cool, because unless you're Ultra Instinct Goku, you will need at least 1 sustainer. Overall, I gotta say that LAUMA is broken. With her insane Bloom-like reaction damage increase, Bloom has finally made a comeback after so many years. It's probably been a year or 2, but whatever. If you already have characters from the previous Bloom meta, I'd absolutely go for her, as not only she shreds element res that make Bloom happen, increase Bloom damage, but she does so much damage herself too. I recommend getting her if you like blooming flowers with dignity. Okay, sorry. Tell me in the comments down below if you like the format of my guides and if you want to see more. Also, if you like deers,